It's not available. Oh, here it is. It says it's live. Let's see how long this lasts. Good evening in the name of the Father Yah and of the Messiah Yahweh Shai, and to all who are seeking perfection of righteousness and obedience to Yah's covenant in these last days of the history of this wicked kingdom. Brothers and sisters, let's look first at 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy, one of the Apostle Shaul's letters to Timothy, 2 Timothy. And I'm going to begin in 2 Timothy chapter 3. 2 Timothy chapter 3. I'm going to read the entirety of 2 Timothy chapter 3. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of Yah, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. For of this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women, laden with sins, led away with divers lusts, ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. Now, as Jannes and Jambres withstood Moses, so do these also resist the truth, men of corrupt minds, reprobate concerning the faith. But they shall proceed no further, for their folly shall be manifest unto all men, as theirs also was. But thou hast fully known my doctrine, manner of life, purpose, faith, long suffering, charity, patience, persecutions, afflictions, which came unto me at Antioch, at Iconium, at Lystra, which persecutions I endured, but out of them all the Master delivered me. Yea, and all that will live godly in Messiah, Yahweh Shai, shall suffer persecution. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. But continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and hast been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them, and that from a child thou hast known the holy scriptures, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through the faith that is in Messiah, Yahweh Shai. All scripture is given by inspiration of Yah, and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of Yah may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. Brothers and sisters, Bible here in verse 13 references that evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. And also, it gave an antidote against this deception in mentioning the holy scriptures that are able to make people wise unto salvation. Also, understanding that the things that you have learned and have been assured of, in other words, which you have been convicted of Father's Spirit of, so you know to be true, hang on to those things. Okay? And brothers and sisters, just in the last 7 days, I've seen examples, multiple examples, of this deception that the Bible is talking about. As we are coming to a close of Asatan's kingdom, he is getting desperate, as we mentioned many times. He's getting desperate, and he's influencing his spirit of that desperation and anger on those that follow him and those that he uses. Now, brothers and sisters, as this just alluded to, I want to also, Shabbat Shalom, Antonio. I want to also allude to our protection, the scriptures. Now, this is one of the problems of these last days is there is much mass brainwashing going on, much mass brainwashing, so that people will mention the scriptures. Sort of like if you say, pray for me, and somebody says, yeah, I'll pray for you, but they never do. It's almost like a cliche. when we say study the scriptures, somebody would nod, yes, I'll study the scriptures, but they never do. Okay? They really never do. We need to really, truly, earnestly get acquainted for ourselves with the Bible. Now, let me also go a little further, not trying to anger anybody, but I'm trying to speak the straight truth. I am not talking about the Apocrypha. I'm not talking about that when I'm talking about the Bible. The Apocrypha, at best, let's put it this way, at best, it's questionable. There is debate as to whether it is inspired. I am not recommending that as an inspired book. I don't think it's inspired. Some do. And then as many that are not sure. Most people that I have talked to that use it understand it to be a historical book rather than a spirit of inspiration from the Most High, although some take it as a spirit of inspiration. No, what I'm talking about is the 66 books that make up the King James Bible from Genesis to Revelation. That's what I'm talking about. Make sure you are well acquainted with all 66 of these books. Make sure you're acquainted with all the doctrines that it teaches, particularly, as we mentioned many times, the doctrine of justification by faith, understanding where your righteousness comes from and what power it gives you to overcome sin and to be obedient to the covenant. And make sure that you study the word. For those out here listening to me now that may not really have studied the word or coming to the understanding, maybe you glanced at a psalm or read something from sometimes you have these morning watches that people get from all different Christian denominations, and it gives you a scripture to read every day. That's not what we're talking about. Because with those morning watches, usually is somebody's interpretation of those scriptures. And you have to be very careful. Brothers and sisters, there's some very slick people out here, and it's getting more and more. The Bible says evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, both deceiving and being deceived. The Bible also clearly says, Satan deceiveth the whole world. Revelation chapter 12, verse 9, he deceiveth the whole world. Also very clearly says that the dragon gives power, seat, and authority to the last day power of religion, which is Christianity. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But we want to prayerfully, by ourselves, study the scriptures. If you have questions, confer with your brethren. Confer with your God first and study the scriptures. Very important. Just this week, I was mentioning there was a Caucasian woman, I guess she was calling herself a pastor, that stated that the Messiah, who she called Jesus, had a wife and a family. The Bible never says the Messiah has a wife and a family. The only wife that the Messiah has is the body, his body. It's his bride, which I believe is the 144,000. That's his bride. He has no other wife. He did not have one when he was on the earth. But this woman confidently affirmed that he had a wife and children, and that he was trying to encourage the families to stay together and encourage strengthening the family, none of which is true. Yet she said it with such a confidence, and she was expecting her listeners not to have studied the scriptures. This is one of the hallmarks of the false teachers of today. I saw another man. This man was of Hebrew origin, had a doctor before his name, and he confidently affirmed that the only proof of Messiah is in the four Gospels. And then he proceeded to use the four Gospels and talk about a similar situation that happened in Egypt with Horus, Isis, and Cyrus. And brothers and sisters, based on that comparison, then he disclaimed the whole Bible. He said the Gospels are the only place you can find the Messiah. Then he compared it to Isis, Horus, and Cyrus. And then he discredited the whole Bible. Again, let me tell you, our Messiah, Yahushua, is a Hebrew. multiple prophets spoke of him. He comes from the tribe of Judah, of the 12 tribes of Israel. He is in the 12 tribes of Israel, a descendant of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. There is no other people on the planet that can make this claim. But without understanding, or at least reading the prophets, you would not get that, because this man was having people cheering for him. And this is the thing, brothers and sisters, about our people, about the Hebrew people. I heard a brother once say, and I believe it's true, Khalid Muhammad once said, he said that our people are people of inspiration and spirit, right? So he said he sought to give them inspiration and information. And sometimes that's a trap, because the inspiration and spirit part can be manipulated. That's your feeling sometimes that can be manipulated. And these preachers today, such as that so-called doctor, whatever his name was manipulating his listeners. If you didn't understand the history of the Messiah as he is spoken about in Genesis, as he is spoken about in Exodus, as he is spoken about in Leviticus, as he is spoken about in Numbers, as he is spoken about in Deuteronomy, as he is spoken about in Joshua, in the Psalms, in Isaiah, in Jeremiah, in Ezekiel, in Zechariah. If you don't understand those things, some carpetbagger like that will deceive you and confuse you. That's another thing I am having problems with some brethren that are putting a lot of trust in Apocrypha. I noticed that they're confused about, especially with regard to prophecy. The Most High never intended his own true people to be confused about these things. Be careful. Okay, be careful. Also, aside from that, aside from the multitude of deception, we're seeing the desperation and the fulfillment of prophecy in their desperation of who the Bible calls Gog and Magog. Now, I want to go through, I went through this many times in many studies, but today's study, I put the name Gog and Magog in the title. And the reason I did that is because I want people to clearly understand where we are right now and who is Gog and Magog. Brothers and sisters, we have said many times, the final movements that the Most High is making right now have everything to do, everything, with the preparation of the 144,000. Everything to do with that. Once the 144,000 are sealed in the Father's Spirit, this whole game, all the final movements will happen extremely rapidly, very quickly. He's preparing this 144,000, who I believe, again, is the bride of the Messiah. He's preparing them to bring forth a message of righteousness and power that this earth has not seen since the apostles walked the earth. He's preparing them to call forth his people out of these Babylonian religions and out of the clutches of deception that the devil is using to keep his people captive. Now, I want to show you something about this in the book of Daniel. I want to show you something in the book of Daniel. I want to go to Daniel chapter 8, just to solidify the point that we're already making. Daniel chapter 8. Daniel chapter 8. Okay, Daniel 8. Now, in Daniel 8, there's a vision that Daniel was given. Okay, a vision that he was given. And I'm going to begin just to give us a brief backdrop of this vision. We don't need the whole vision, but just a brief backdrop of the vision, because the point I'm making is about a kingdom that is now in existence and a king that is now in existence on the earth and what he's doing and how. In Daniel chapter 8, it says, beginning at verse 1, in the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, Daniel, me Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I is at Shushan, the palace which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river Ulai. So Daniel was by the river Ulai. We seen in Daniel chapter 10, he was by another river and he saw a vision. We also saw that this has happened in the third year of Belshazzar. Now, when you read Daniel chapter 5, you will understand Belshazzar was killed in Daniel chapter 5. So that the events in this vision that Daniel is given in chapter 8 actually happened prior to Daniel chapter 5. An example of how the scriptures are not always chronological. A lot of times they are, but sometimes they're not. Here's the third year of King Belshazzar, but in chapter 5, he was slain by the Medes. And Darius the Mede took the kingdom at 62 years old. That was where the writing was on the wall, proverbial writing on the wall, Daniel chapter 5. But here, before that, so I'm bringing that up also to make mention of the fact that when Daniel walked in that palace with the writing on the wall, he already knew what we are seeing here in chapter 8. He already knew it. Okay. Now, Daniel in this vision is, again, just like chapter 7 and just like chapter 2, he's being given a vision of successive kingdoms, of a specific set of kingdoms. And I like to point out all the time, there have been many kingdoms on the earth all over the world. There have been many peoples, different Aztec, Mayan, Taino Indian kingdoms, African kingdoms in Mali, African kingdom Timbuktu, Egyptian kingdoms. There have been Libyan kingdoms. There have been kingdoms all over the world. And of course, there's your European kingdom, there's your Middle East, so-called Middle Eastern kingdoms, there's your Indian kingdoms, and then again, there's your Chinese dynasty. There's been many, many kingdoms on the earth, but the Most High focuses on 4. And these 4 succeed each other and they copy each other, especially in a religious sense. Because we must always remember that Asatan is on the earth looking to dominate it by having people worship him. Yes, there's money involved, there's power involved, there's fame involved, but all of that is smokescreen. The real issue is worship. He wants all to worship him. That does not mean necessarily, although if you look at certain signs, like in the flag of the so-called Israeli state, the Pentagon and so forth, you can obviously see the hidden symbol there. There's not always a pentagram with candles on it. It's not always a Ouija board. It can be in broad daylight, in plain sight. He only needs you to receive his doctrine. We talked about just a few minutes ago. The most important doctrine of righteousness by faith that causes the receiver to overcome all their sin, to break the chains of Satan by the power of the spirit of righteousness from the Father, and to be in line with the Father's covenant. Okay, so that by receiving that doctrine from the Father, you are worshiping the Father, you are depending on him, and you show yourself to be one of his servants. Well, Asatan has doctrines also. And his doctrine was based in Genesis, which we talked about many times, when he told Eve, you and Adam can be gods. So that in one way or another, all things man-made are exalted. Specifically things regarding worship and religion, they're exalted. And objects of worship that are man-made, even people themselves, even athletes and entertainers and politicians, they become what we call stars or celebrities. They're worshipped, even though although people do say this one or that one. You might have heard someone say this one or that one is my idol. My idol. You ever heard somebody say that? So-and-so athlete is my idol. So-and-so actor is my idol. I modeled myself after this musician. That's idol worship in the real. And that is Asatan's doctrine. So that even though you're not thinking you're directly worshiping Asatan, you are. Because you're receiving his doctrine. Okay? Now, in Daniel chapter 8, we begin here. I want to show the last power that Daniel talks about, which I want to let you know is the Roman Catholic Church. And I want to show you how about this power, what the Bible says about it. And let me begin. Well, I'm going to begin at verse 23. I'm going to begin at verse 23. And I'm going to go down to verse 25. Verse 23 to 25. And I'm going to compare this to Revelation chapter 13. Okay? All right. Notice what it says. In the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. And through his policy, also he shall cause craft is deceit, to prosper in his hand. And he shall magnify in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. And he shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Notice it says his power shall be mighty, but not by himself. In other words, our Satan is supplying him with power. Again, and also it says deceit prospers in his hand. And we just read in 2 Timothy how deceivers and seducers will wax worse and worse, both deceiving and being deceived. That's where we are right now. And this is based in this power right here, which is the Roman Catholic Church, which is Christianity. Okay, let's compare it. Revelation chapter 13. Notice he said, he shall be mighty, but not by his own power. Again, look at Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13, going to read from verse 1 down to verse 4, emphasizing actually from 1 to, I'm going to read from 1 to 4, emphasizing verse 2. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth was as the mouth of a lion. Watch this. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority, not by his own power. See? And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? So all the world that follows this beast is actually worshiping the dragon, who gave it its power. See? He doesn't need you to worship a pentagram. He doesn't need you to go to the church of Satan. He doesn't need you to wear goth outfits and wear all black. All he needs you to do is receive his doctrines, and you're worshiping him. Okay? And that's why it's vitally important. And this is serious because, brothers and sisters, let us not forget, only 8 persons were on Noah's Ark. In a world of people that were living for multiple centuries, that's what you had in Genesis chapter 5 and 6. You had an earth filled with people that were living multiple centuries with natural power we don't know nothing about right now because we've been degenerating. Multiple centuries multiplying upon the earth, the Bible says. And men began to multiply, and they lived multiple centuries. Okay? And only 8 persons was on the ark that provided salvation and escape. So don't think it's impossible that majority of the planet Earth is worshiping our Satan right now and being deceived into doing it. Okay? Being deceived into doing it. Now, we talked about Gog and Magog and 144,000. Let's look at them. We know about the 144,000, but we can't read it too often. So let's look at it again. Revelation chapter 7. Revelation chapter 7, verses 1 to 4. Revelation 7, verses 1 to 4. And let me take note that this is happening under the sixth seal. See, after the sixth seal is open, these events take place. The sixth seal is open in Revelation chapter 6, and it goes through Revelation chapter 7, and it ends in Revelation chapter 8, whereby you see the seventh seal in Revelation chapter 8. Okay, so everything we're looking at in chapter 7, this vision is happening in the sixth seal. Okay, all the vision is happening in the sixth seal. Now, Revelation chapter 7, what's going on? And after these things, I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Most High. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Most High in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Now, as an Israelite, my belief and teaching is that the so-called Negro that mostly came from the shores of Africa is the true Israelite, is the true child, the bloodline of Isaac and Jacob, and of course, Abraham. They are the scattered children of the 12 tribes of Israel. And it is them that are going to make up the sealed 144,000. Okay, it's them. They are not going to be received by the general population of planet Earth. Let me say that again. They will not be received by the general population of planet Earth. As a matter of fact, they won't even be received by the majority of their bloodline brothers and sisters and cousins. Just like the majority of Israelites rejected Messiah himself, did they not? And as the prophets all tell, the prophets of, especially you're looking at an Ezekiel, you're looking at a Zechariah, you're looking at a Jeremiah, you're looking at a Daniel, you're looking at an Isaiah, who brought rebuke to the Israelites. Among also, he rebuked the Gentiles, but he rebuked the Israelites, and these men were rejected by their own people. Okay? So this is nothing new. That's why the Bible calls the saved people at the end a remnant. And it makes sense when you understand who Gog and Magog is, who will be opposing them, who the Satan is using to oppose them. Okay, shalom. Okay, so let's take a look now. One more scripture that we know about the 144,000. Now, the thing about, I often say about the book of Revelation that most people don't catch, and I'm hoping y'all catch it here. Everything, and I mean everything, in the book of Revelation is in the prophets. You can always substantiate the book of Revelation by the prophets. Someone might say, well, is the 144,000 in the prophets? Absolutely. They're just not numbered the way they are in the book of Revelation. But they're spoken about in Daniel chapter 12. They're spoken about in Malachi chapter 4. Okay? They're spoken about in Isaiah 58 and other places. They're spoken about. They're just not called by that number. But when you talk about people of the last days, of people that your Most High is raising up from the four corners of the earth, that's going to give a message of warning to the earth, that's them. Okay, that's them. And they have the Father's name in their foreheads. That means his character of perfect righteousness is molded, melded. Like when you solder two things together into their character. This happens by supplication, surrender, a diligent desire, earnest, wanting to be one with the Father. Okay, let's continue. Revelation chapter 14, beginning at verse 1. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having again his father's name written in their foreheads. Okay, so this is in the kingdom. Okay, so in the kingdom, they'll be standing on Mount Zion with the husband, Messiah, the bride, 144,000. Okay, that's them. Let's talk about Gog and Magog for a minute. Okay, who is that? Well, obviously, they exist in the second resurrection, at least. Take a look at that, because they're prominently mentioned in the second resurrection of Revelation chapter 20. Let's take a look. Revelation chapter 20. Revelation 20. I'm going to begin at verse 4. And I'm going to go from verse 4 of Revelation 20. I'm going to go from verse 4 down to verse 8 and 9. Actually, 8, 9. Yeah, 8, 9. So from 4 to 9. Revelation 20. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua, and for the word of Yah, which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Messiah 1,000 years. But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power, but they shall be priests of Yah and of Messiah, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And when, watch this, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. Who is that? Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And they went up on the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city, and fire came down from Yah out of heaven and devoured them. So Asatan is leading a group that is led by Gog and Magog. And it says, he shall go forth upon the earth to deceive the nations. Now, when you look up the word nations in both Hebrew and Greek, it's Gentiles. It's Gentiles. So Gog and Magog, whoever they are, they're Gentiles. We're going to see that also in the scriptures. And the Gentiles are going to try to attack the people of Yah. See, I want you to understand, we're going to destroy miserably the Gentiles. But it's not like we're going to attack them. Our destruction of them is going to be a result of them trying to attack us. So it's self-defense when we destroy them. And it's because whoever these Gog and Magog people are, they're warlike, they're aggressive, and they're used to taking whatever they want. The Bible is going to be more explicit about who they are as we continue reading. So let's continue, because you already have the 144,000, the Israelite people, the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is no spiritual Israel. This is no substitution for them. These are them. The ones that were former slaves, the ones that once had chains of iron about their neck, them and their children. That's who it is. Okay. Again, just from what I just said, I think you can understand that this message is going to be rejected by the Gentiles, because the Gentiles believe that they are God. The Gentiles believe that they have invented everything. The Gentiles believe that they will always have power. But the Bible begs to differ. Let's now look at Ezekiel chapter 38. Ezekiel chapter 38, talking about Gog and Magog, gives us more hints as to who these people are. Gog and Magog versus the 144,000. So let's look at Ezekiel chapter 38, beginning at verse 1. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. So the Israelite prophet is commanded to set his face against Gog. Gog is the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophecy against him. So prophecy is against Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. Okay, where's Magog? We'll find out in a moment. But let's see what else it says here. And say, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Gog. So the Creator is not with Gog. He's against Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. And notice who's with them? People from Persia, Ethiopia, Libya with them. All of them shield and helmet. So Gog and Magog will have Hamitic people with them. We call them sellouts. They will exist until the end of time. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou, and all thy company that is assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have all been always waste, but is brought forth out of the nation, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. So the Israelites at this point have been brought out of all the nations, and that goes with Isaiah 11, Ezekiel 36, many other scriptures that he's going to bring forth. Jeremiah chapter 23, he's going to bring his people from all four corners of the earth, and he's going to gather them and bring them back to their own land. This is the return of Messiah, okay? But then Gog and Magog are not happy with that. So they're going to try to attack the city, attack the nation. Because we've always been beat. We've always been beat down prior to this. Thou shalt ascend and come, verse 9, like a storm, and shalt be like a cloud to cover the land. Thou and all thy bands and many people with thee, just like Revelation, they cover the breadth of the earth. Number like the sand of the sea. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh, it shall come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest and dwell safely, of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. See, this is what Gog and Magog are used to doing. Going into lands that are not theirs. We're at a point, they exist today, obviously. We're going to find out who they are. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages, and I will go to them at rest or safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates, to take a spoil, like gold, silver, diamonds, right? Platinum, to take a spoil, to take a prey, to turn the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods that dwell in the midst of the land. Dedan and merchants of Tarshish with all young lions thereof shall say unto thee, art thou come to take a spoil? Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take great spoil? Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say unto God, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, in that day when my people Israel dwelleth safely, shalt thou not know it? This is during the 1,000 years. At the end of the 1,000 years, this is going to happen. Now, prior to the 1,000 years, they also make an attack. But that's a different story. This is the end of the 1,000 years. Gog and Magog. Okay? And thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts, thou and many people with thee, all of them riding upon horses, a great company, and a mighty army. And thou shalt come up against my people, Israel, his people, that have always been wasted. That's us. Okay? God, why? Because Gog and Magog, for the last 2,000 years, have been wasting us. That's why. Someone might say, well, Israel used to be a power. Yes, this was before the reign of Gog and Magog. See, Gog and Magog, their reign started with the Medes and the Persians. We'll talk about that. After the Babylonian Empire with Nebuchadnezzar, who was a Hamite, Gog and Magog started reigning. The Medes and the Persians, then the Greeks, then the Romans, all the way to today, with the religious powers of Gog and Magog. So they're used to conquering, controlling everything. That's why I said we've always been waste. So to them, this is just another day at the office. They're going to come take it. At least they think so. And thou shalt come up against my people Israel as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land, that the heathen may know me, when I shall be sanctified in thee, O God, before their eyes. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh. Art thou he of whom I have spoken in old time by my servants, the prophets of Israel? Notice he said, the prophets of Israel. There's no prophets in Kemet. There's no prophets in Babylon. There's no prophets in Europe. There's no prophets in India. There's no prophets in China. Israel. Which prophesy in those days, many years, that I would bring thee against them. It shall come to pass at the same time when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, that the Most High, saith the Most High Yahweh, that my fury shall come up in my face. See, there's some Christians that underneath this Christian brainwashing that think, when you become born again, anger doesn't exist anymore. Really? So what is fury? That my fury shall come up in my face. What is fury? It's not anger. For in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel, that the fishes of the sea, the fowls of the heaven, the beasts of the field, all creeping things that creep upon the earth, and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence. Mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. And I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, saith the Most High Yahweh. Every man's sword shall be against his brother, and I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood, and I will rain upon him and upon his bands and upon many people that are with him, in overflowing rain and hailstones, fire and brimstone. Thus will I magnify myself and sanctify myself, and I will be known in the eyes of many nations, and they shall know that I am Yahweh. Brothers and sisters, so apparently there's going to be some Gentiles saved, obviously. We believe that. But the majority of them are going to be lost because they're warlike, because they've been used to getting everything they want, because they have a thing called privilege and supremacy. Who are these people? Genesis chapter 10. Genesis chapter 10. Take a look at this. Let's tell you who they are. These are the people that dominate today. These are the people whose religion dominates today. These are the people who are going to go against the Most High, who are going against the Most High, who are Satan controlled. Who are they? Genesis chapter 10, beginning at verse 1 and going down to verse 5. Genesis chapter 10, beginning at verse 1 and going down to verse 5. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer. Didn't we see that in Ezekiel 38? Yes, we did. From the north quarters. That was Gomer. Magog, Madal, Yavan, Tubal, and Meshach. There they go. Gog, the chief prince of Tubal and Meshach. And then Gog, Magog. They're all here. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Rephath, Togarmah. And the sons of Yavan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, Dudanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nations. These are your Europeans. That's who they are. Now, somebody might say, good question. Well, all the blood's been mixed up. Bloodlines all mixed up. How you know where you are? First of all, let me explain to you, brothers and sisters. If you got, even the Caucasians say, if you got a drop of black blood, guess what? You black. Even they say that. Even they say that. Okay? If you in America, you heard that one. So that if your great granddaddy was black and you in Mississippi somewhere, they're gonna hold that against you if you call yourself Caucasian. But aside from that, overall, this whole earth is in a Eurocentric culture. The whole earth. Okay? Between the language like English and Spanish is Eurocentric, and Portuguese, right? Eurocentric culture. All of these places. Gomer is where you get your Irish from. Magog, that's your Russians. And it's, listen, the whole Germanic tribe system is where all the Europeans come from. That's where Japhet settled after the flood. That's where his people were. Somebody might say, well, how they get Caucasian? How they get pink? You know, there's a lot of theories behind that. I don't even go into it. But that's where they're from. And so if you are joined together with this culture religiously, you're following their ways. Either you're idolizing some person that you esteem, or some system of religion that you esteem. Christianity in all of its forms, and Islam in all of its forms, and Buddhism and Hinduism and Taoism in all their forms. You are worshiping man-made religion. You're giving yourself over to the spirit of Asatan. Now, let me just be clear. There's a lot of people that are doing these things ignorantly. Hence, the hindrance of the 144,000. There's a lot of these people that are doing these things ignorantly because, brothers and sisters, especially here in America, for the last 400 years, we've been brainwashed with white Jesus. So there's a lot of people that were ignorant about the truths that I'm now sharing with you. Hence, the 144,000 are brought forth. People from the past are in the past. You can't do nothing about that. That's up to y'all to decide who want to be saved, who not. That's not my job. But the 144,000, their job is to awaken the tribes of Israel, to put a light on the truth as far as who's supposed to be worshipped and why, who the true God is, and who the false one is. That's their job. Aside from the seal of the Father giving them that power, they are a perfect reflection of his glory of righteousness and truth. Yes, brothers and sisters, your Caucasian people are the leaders of Gog and Magog. All religions founded by them, I would be careful about. Christianity was not founded by the Hebrew Messiah. The Hebrew Messiah never said, I'm starting this new religion called Christianity. He never did that. Okay? In this Bible, this 66-book volume with thousands, and I mean literally thousands of pages, the word Christian is used 3 times. And never do you hear a disciple of Messiah calling another disciple a Christian. It is pagans calling disciples Christian, because that is a Greek thing, Christos. It's often used for their gods. Hare Krishna. It means an anointed one. And to the pagans, any man might be anointed. Not so with Yah. His Hebrew prophets are anointed. His Hebrew kings, Israelites from the tribe of Judah, are anointed. The ones he sends from the 12 tribes are anointed. You don't just go anointing anybody, calling him Christo. 3 times. That's all. Because it was a heathen thing. Then later on, when the Romans started killing the Hebrews in Europe and killing them in Africa, what they did is they created this religion called Christianity, founded by Constantine, an emperor who was a pagan, admittedly, and worshipped many gods, of which Christos was one. Later on, that development became what we now know as the Roman Catholic Church. And all the world wanders after the beast. All the Christian religions are under that banner. The Bible never speaks of Abraham creating any religion called Judaism, because he never did. That is man-made. These are deceptions that people are using to confuse and to deceive. I always tell people, read the Bible and follow what it says. It doesn't give you the name of a religion. It does not. It does not denominate. It has a nation, not a denomination. It has a chosen nation, Israel. And you want to be right? Do what the wise men did. What they do from the east? They said, we are come from the east. We see that he that is born king of the Jews, and we're come to worship him. The one born king of the Jews, we came to worship him. They wasn't going out to try to find Baal. They were looking for Messiah to worship him. And guess what? I seen a sticker, but it's true. Wise men still seek him. That is the Lion of the tribe of Judah, not white Jesus. So yes, his color does matter. Where he's from definitely matters. Because the whole deceptive system is based of white supremacy, is based on a white Jesus and on a Gentile religion called Christianity. See, it's based on it. And so Gog and Magog are your Europeans with their Eurocentric culture and their white Jesus and all their power. They have power now. Okay. Even though we had the first black president, he was under control of them. Y'all know that. He ain't do nothing for black people. He ain't do nothing for black people. Barack Obama didn't do anything for us. Unless you were homosexual. He might have helped you. You know, the rainbow. He might have helped you. Okay. But he ain't help us. He ain't help us. Smoke screen. That's all it was. All the rest of them, Caucasian males. Caucasian males. Okay, brothers and sisters? Caucasian male. And that's how this Gog and Magog is telling us. That's what it's telling us. And so, brothers and sisters, listen. They've been in power for 2,000 years. And according to what we just read in the Bible, in Ezekiel chapter 38, their time is coming to a close. Okay? Their time is coming to a close. Now, they may not read the scriptures, and they don't, the way we are looking at them here. But there's a spirit, and it's telling them. They have what the Bible calls a fearful looking for of judgment. They know their time is close. And so what I'm saying is, you can expect their anger to boil over. There's no repentance from them. No. Now, there are some that's going to repent. It's going to be a remnant, even smaller remnant, and even smaller remnant than the Hebrews. There's going to be a small remnant that come to the truth now, a small. And the Bible does say that. Matter of fact, let's see. Looking at Amos chapter 9. Watch this, Amos chapter 9. Amos 9, among other places, but Amos chapter 9, verse 11, from verse 11. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David. And you know, brothers and sisters, just as an aside, all the promises of the prophets are for Israel. Anybody else that receives these blessings are joined to Israel. Okay, he has chosen no other people. He has revealed himself to no other nation. That is why this darkness of religious darkness and confusion is all over the earth, because his chosen people have been scattered for 2,000 years. And now with the awakening is really a hope to the earth, a hope of real truth, a hope of pure power from the creator of the earth. That's the only hope for this earth right now. And they're going to reject it. So don't be surprised at that. But they're going to get angry, and they're getting more angry. Why? Because the Father's Spirit is completely withdrawn from them. And they're getting crazy. And our Satan spirit is taking control. And so you're going to see them getting hyped. More hyped. All over the earth. It's happening here in the U.S. It's also happening in other places too. They're getting more hyped because they know their time is up. What does that mean for you and me? Our focus should not be on them, especially if we believe what the scriptures are telling us. They're finished. Babylon is fallen. They're finished. Our focus should be on us connecting with our God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Never mind them. Don't waste your breath. Those of them that want the truth will hear what we're saying and come running to this truth. There'll be a great minority of them, but there will be some. There are already some. I've baptized a few of them myself. There's a few of them. But it's not the majority by any means. The majority are going to reject this. In fact, they're going to resist it with everything they got and fight against it and sabotage it. Brothers and sisters, look, and I'm using and I mean it as an example, but it has happened in many places all over the world. When the so-called black people get together and build something, they build a city, they build an economy, they get together and they do something among themselves for themselves. What happens? The Caucasians come and destroy it. They're so afraid of us, they can't even, you know what? When you talk about separate but equal, that means we would be in a separate school from the Caucasians. They would get all the modern facilities, the same taxes that we're paying. We were paying, we're going to help their school. We would get secondhand stuff if we got that. And if through that oppression, we still manage to educate our children to come up out of it, they will come and try to hurt us, destroy us. Okay? They don't do it now because they got slick. What they do now is they set up government programs where they claim to help us and they're to destroy us. Case in point, urban renewal, public housing. It's supposed to be to help us get a leg up. What does it do? What they do? They put us in there. They put other houses in there aside from the public housing. They redline the place. They have no insurance in there. They push the drugs in there. Listen, man. Where do poor people get money to get heroin from Afghanistan? Come on now. And to bring coke on planes from Central America. Huh? That's government-sponsored stuff, man. We know it. The Gog and Magog are trying to deny it. But that's their business. Amos chapter 9, from verse 11 down to verse 15. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins and build it as in the days of old. That's a promise to Israel. That they may possess the remnant of Edom, and of all the heathen which are called by my name, says Yahweh, that doeth this. So there's going to be heathen, even Edomites, that are going to come to this truth. Again, a minority. Don't think it's going to be a whole host of them. See? That's why the two witnesses of Revelation 11 prophesy in sackcloth. Nobody's receiving their witness. In fact, they're fighting against them. That's why. And it's no coincidence. The two witnesses of Revelation 11 take place what? In the sixth trumpet. Just like we read today about the 144,000 in the sixth seal. No coincidence. Okay? Brothers and sisters, we're here. We're not coming. We're here. Right? We're here. The age of 144,000 could be any age. You know, Moses was 120 and his natural strength had not abated. When Caleb was given the command from Joshua to take the land, he was 85 years old. He was 85 when he came to take that land. He said, and I'm as strong now as I was when I was 40. That's what he said. So age don't matter. Faith matters. The Most High could raise up a person from any age. That don't matter. Okay? Faith matters. Look, behold, the days come, saith Yah, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes, him that soweth seed. And the mountain shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt. And I will bring again the captivity of my people of Israel, and they shall build the waste cities and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and drink the wine thereof. They shall also make gardens and eat the fruit thereof. And I will plant them upon their land, and they shall no more be pulled up out of their land, which I have given them, saith Yahweh the Most High. So, brothers and sisters, See, we're going to be given the land that was promised to Abraham, the land that was Canaan's land that was promised to Abraham. Okay, we're going to be given that land. And Gog and Magog are going to be destroyed because they tried to attack us on that land. Because they're used to attacking people all over this earth. They're used to doing that. Okay, that's their history for the last 2,000 years. Like I said, it started really with Medes and the Persians, but they was good compared to the Greeks that came after them, and then the Romans. Oh my gosh, that's where we at right now. So, brothers and sisters, it's all Eurocentric culture, what the Bible talking about. How could the people say, are there black people in the Bible? That's the amazing thing. Question is where the white people are. The so-called white people. That's the question. Well, we just found them tonight. They're called Gog and Magog. They're called the nations. That's them. Okay, that's them. That's your Caucasians. It's not white Jesus. He doesn't exist in this Bible. Okay, he doesn't exist. And Christianity, where is it in the Bible? It's called the beast and the great whore. That's what it's called. It's called the one that has a policy that's built on craft, deception, deceit. That's what it is. Okay? The promises of Yah are to the downtrodden Israelite people, the one that have always been laid waste. That's us. Always been laid waste. We were the head, but then when we got scattered into the nations and had them chains on our neck, we have become the tail and have been the tail ever since. Even though we are the chosen holy people of the royal house of Israel. That's the truth about it. We're the chosen holy people of the royal house of Israel. That's the truth. But in this system, Asatan is running, we the tail. And it makes sense. Why would Asatan hook us up? Except we take the deal that Messiah rejected. He said, all this will I give to you if you bow down and worship me. And Messiah said, get thee hence. Well, there's a lot of brothers that took that deal. A lot of brothers took that deal. And there's a lot of brothers, listen, there's brothers, and I've known some, raised in abject poverty. I mean, abject poverty. Mama is struggling to put food on the table. One of her little boys grows up to be 7 feet, 6'5", 300, and can run the 40 and 4.5, whatever. And then he signed an NFL contract, an NBA contract, a Major League Baseball contract, and he's making money. And he brings them out of that abject poverty. Praise the Most High, but I want to tell you something. They're going to have decisions to make. Yes, they're going to have decisions to make. All of them. Because there's going to come a day when them dollar bills are going to be worthless. And when you wait and you hold on to them until they're worthless, you're too late. The Most High is going to let these brothers know through the 144,000 and the sisters, it's going to be time to give up that loot. It's time to give it up. Now, as you know and I know, Bible says, hardly shall a rich man enter the kingdom. It's easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than for the rich man to enter the kingdom. So some of these brothers whose mamas raised them on their own, daddy was in prison or dead, and all of a sudden one of their babies grew up big and strong, and because of his entertainment ability, Gog and Magog said, come on in here, let me give you millions. I mean, I'm not begrudging none of these brothers, but they're gonna have to give up the loot eventually. But you see, this brother the other day signed up $500 million contract. I mean, this. I'm not blaming the brother. I'm not blaming him. It's these owners though of these teams. What I'm saying is, do you know if you have $500 million to bestow on an athlete, how many millions of people that are in abject poverty can you lift out of poverty with that money over the 10 years? 50 million a year. How many people that are not getting educated could get educated? I mean, how many? Got to be millions, right? And he throwing 500 million on an entertainment. Brothers and sisters, this is the world we live in. This is the world of Gog and Magog. This is the world where they are getting angry and they are getting desperate. Because even with all of that paper dollars, it's going away. Their power is going away. And everybody's going to have to give an answer. Everybody going to have to give an answer. Everybody's going to have to make a decision. And it's coming real quick for everybody. I'm telling you, it's coming real quick for every soul on planet Earth. In the midst of the COVID, in the midst of police brutality, in the midst of aggression from Gog and Magog, it's coming. It's here. It's here. Praise the Most High, brothers and sisters, it's here. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share those things with you. I've noticed the deceivers are becoming more prominent, more slick. You know, they become more prominent, more slick. Yeah, that's the dude's name, Patrick Mahomes. I'm not blaming Brother Mahomes. I'm not blaming him. But he's going to have to make a decision. LeBron, Kobe, not Kobe, Kobe passed, rest in peace, but LeBron, all these guys with all these tens of millions of dollars, everybody's going to have to make a decision. It's going to come a time when the Most High Spirit going to tap them on the shoulder through the voice of the 144,000. Choose you this day whom you will serve. Whether the God on this side of the flood that your fathers serve or Yahweh. But that's for me and my house, we're going to serve Yahweh. It's going to be a tough decision. It's going to be a hard decision. I believe some of them brothers are going to make the right decision. Give up that loot. It's going to happen. I know it's hard to believe, but some of them are going to make the right decision. Praise Yah. Okay? Some of them are going to do it. But it's going to be a decision that got to be made. Gog and Magog are your Eurocentric people that run your Eurocentric culture, your Eurocentric religion, Christianity. Even Islam is Eurocentric. Yes, it is. I know it's in the so-called Middle East with them Arabs. The Most High never called an Arab prophet. Not in the Bible. Never called an Arab prophet. Gog and Magog run this thing. But not for long. They're getting desperate. Their commander, Asatan, is desperate. He knows it's almost up. It's for us to receive that seal. Never mind the mark of the beast. You receive the mark of the beast by default if you don't get sealed by Yah. Did you know that? You're going to receive the mark of the beast by default if you don't get sealed by Yah. The Bible says, all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. So if you don't receive Yah's seal in your forehead by his spirit, you are going to receive the mark. It's not no question. You can say, I'm not taking no chip, or I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. You can say it all the way till you get the mark, because that's what's coming. The only way you're not going to get the mark is to receive the seal of Yah. That is the spirit of perfect righteousness in your forehead. I will focus on getting that. Gog and Magog's time is just about up. May the Most High bless you to avoid the mark of the beast and receive Yah's seal of perfect righteousness in your forehead. May you diligently, by Yah's Spirit, study the scriptures. Never mind these teachers. Study the scriptures for yourself in your private home, in your place where you are. Ask your Father in heaven to guide you. He will guide you in the word and lead you in the way you should go. Time is almost up. Just hang on, brothers and sisters. That's what we got to do at this point. Hang on. You got to hang on because it's almost over. Gog and Magog getting more and more vicious, more and more angry, more and more out of control because they don't know what to do with themselves. And it's going to get worse. May the Most High bless you, keep you, guide your steps in the way of truth and righteousness for his name's sake. Amen.